Yisok to Halem Lumar. We are, I believe, on Yudam base, and we finished up yesterday with three lemudim that the nizik is the one who has to be mitapel with the nevela. We had three lemudim. We had one limud in a case where a man damages an animal, which is makei nefesh behemi yishalmena. And the reason why the Torah had to tell you special by makei nefesh behemi yishalmena is because it's a very unusual thing to occur. So maybe we wouldn't worry about it, and we'll just let the mazik take care of it. Kamash will let the nizik takes care of it. It says it also, if a shomer is neglectful of his responsibility, and due to his neglect, the animal gets torn up, we also have the nizik be mitapel with the devela. And even though over there, if we wouldn't say it, we would have thought that since it's shchicha, it's a pretty common thing to occur. Shmira, responsibility to watch, and then there's a neglect. So you would have thought that the mazik has to be mitapel with the vela, kamash with the nizik. And the third case is when a shore damages a shore. That's also common, and the shore did a damage via dime. You would have thought that the mazik would have to be mitapel with the vela, kamash malon, that the nizik is mitapel with the vela. Frek the Gemara, I don't understand. Why would the mazik ever have to be mitapel with the vela? We already learned that if the mazik wanted, he could pay back in bottle returns and give him a whole bunch of bottles to return to the beer store. He can give any shavak kesef that he wants. If he has a whole pile of dead animals of roadkill, he can give that to the nizik as payment. So why wouldn't he be able to give the actual roadkill of the nizik as payment? And for the Gemara, the whole discussion of who's responsible for the nevela is all about pchas nevela. From the moment the nevela is killed, the clock starts ticking and its value drops as the animal starts to rot. So the question is, at what point do we assess the mazik's responsibility or the shomer's responsibility to pay the nizik for the damage? It's at the time that the animal got killed. So let's say when the animal was alive, it was worth 1,000, and at the moment that it got killed, it was worth $300. So then the assessed damages that the mazik has to pay the nizik is $700. The mazik can pay that $700 any way they want, even with subin. But the $300, that's how the nevela is valued, and that will now be the nizik's responsibility. And if the nizik delays in preserving this animal or in liquidating this dead animal, and the value of the dead animal drops, that is not the mazik's responsibility, that's the nizik's responsibility. And that's how we concluded yesterday. Let's actually say that this comment we just made, who's responsible if the nevela loses value after it got killed, let's say that is totally in the machlokes tonight. The Tanya we learned in a brisa. The pasuk says by shomer, im tarif yitarif yivieu eid hatreif lo yishalim. Now pasuk pshat in that pasuk is, if I'm a shomer sacher and the terefa occurred through an oinus, and a line came that you can't expect a shomer sacher to risk his life to fight, yivieu eid, let him bring an aid, let the shomer bring an aid that it was an oinus, and lo yishalim, the shomer doesn't have to pay. But the Gemara is darshaning this pasuk. The Tanyim tarif yivieu eid, yavi edim shenitrif abaynis. Let him bring edim that it was nitrif abaynis upater, and it'll be pater. So that's how the first Tana interprets this pasuk. Rashi's upater the sharmachinim pater ba'intin k'dichsiv bei umeis oinishma ein royesh v'us Hashem tiyabedst. Abba Shol darshans the pasuk differently. He doesn't touch Yivayeu Eid, you should bring a witness. Rather, Yivayeu Eid, Yavi Aduda Labes. Bring the nevela to Bezdin. In other words, bring the nevela to Bezdin and let that be returned to the nizik, and you only have to pay the difference. My love, the Mar Savar, Chas Nevela the Nizik. Abba Shaul holds Chas Nevela the Nizik. Hava. Umar Sober the Mazik Hava. And the first Tana who doesn't say anything about it, he just reads the pasuk as is, holds that the Mazik has to pay. Let's see Rashi. My lab welcome the Ba'intin Havadi loy polig Abba Shaul lemeimar dafilu nitra Ba'in is yechayiv. No one's going to suggest that what Abba Shaul is trying to teach us is that a Shomer Sacher is chayiv anoinus, because we know that's not true. The ain't Shomer Sacher chayiv anoinus. So Zok Rashi, this machlokes here in this price is cryptic. It doesn't quite say clearly what they're arguing about. So let's suggest Lahachi Kamma. Im nitrafa b'pshia, if it was nitrafa b'pshia, meaning sheyehei bar tashlumin, and that means the shomer is liable. How would he pay? Zok Abba Shaul yavi aduda. Let him bring the nevela and give it back to the nizik. And the Yosef mi beisay al adamim sheishava b'shas misa. And he should add to the cost or to the value of the nevela as it was assessed b'shas misa to fill up what the whole animal was worth when it was alive. The imishum damim dehashta loyitz. It can't be telling you a chiddush that you could use it to pay back damages. The hashta islay nevelas achanaisa yoyivla. We know because of Yoshev that the mazik can pay back the nizik with anything of value that he has. Kol shekeinah. So by a process of elimination, the only thing we could suggest that Abba Shaul is trying to prove from the pasuk of Yovei Aduda Lebezdin is Ela Lepkas Nevela also. That the value of Nevela as it drops, it will go, it's the responsibility of the Nizik. The Tanakama Leimapik Leilach Drasha, and the Tanakama who just learned to push it, the pasuk push it, doesn't have any drasha at all. Hillel, the mazik has to pay, and therefore it's the mazik's problem to deal with the diminishing value of the dead animal. Therefore, he couldn't learn this drasha like Abba Shaul did. He doesn't need a pasuk to tell you that you could pay in any currency that you want. So basically, what Rashi is telling us, since Abba Shaul had this interesting drasha and the Tanakama did not, we'll say that Abba Shaul is trying to tell us that Pras Nevela is the Nizik. Zokamar Loi, maybe that is not the Machlokes. The Chula Alma, the Nizik. Everybody holds that if the animal loses value from the moment of death, that's in the Nizik's domain, not in the Mazik's domain. The Mazik's chiyuv is assessed at the moment of death. The question merely is, who has to hire the tow truck? Who has to hire the salvage company? Who has to pay for that to get the animal out of the hole of it to the bar? They figure out how much an Nevela is worth before it's an Nevela fruit. Yeah. But Tanya, we learned. Tanya is b'nichusa. I apologize. But Tanya, we learned. How do you know that the owner of the bar, he has to hire the salvage company to get that bar, to get that shor out of the bar? Talmud Leimar, Kesef, Yoshiv, Lebolov, V'hameis. So we darshan it. The pasuk really says Kesef, Yoshiv, Lebolov, V'hameis Yaloi. But we darshan it, Kesef, Yoshiv, Lebolov, V'hameis. Not only does the mazik, does the balabar have to pay for the diminished value of this animal, he also has to return the mace along with it. What exactly is the expense? How do we assess the damages, the expense of Torah Nevela? If you're going to tell me that if it's in the bar, it's worth a zuz, because you still have to pay somebody to get it out. Va'aguda, but if it's on the ground, after it's removed from the bar, shav arba, because it costs 3 zuz, this to lift this animal out of the bar, well then ki tarach with the nafshe tarach. I don't need a new zach of the tircha of the nevela. At the time of death, it's only worth 1. If he wants to increase its value, which will diminish his liability, of course he's going to do that because it's coming right out of his pocket. So what's this new thing? What is this new thing of Torah Nevela? This is not Torah Nevela. This is actual value. If you want to diminish your damages, get that shor out of the bar. It's speaking where people will pay the same amount no matter where the animal is. Therefore, it's incumbent on the mazik to bring it up fast. So I know what Duvi's going to ask. Well, what if he waits 3 days till he does it? Is he going to be liable now that it's worth less? I was thinking about that. Maybe he would be. Maybe the Nizak could sue him because your job is to do it right away before, so I could liquidate it quickly. Do you find that even though it's in a place where it's harder to get, it's still going to be the same cost? If you buy a beam in the city, it's a zuz. Even though it requires a team of people to bring that beam into the city where you need it to buy.
Often you find that gas is cheaper in the country than in the city.
Yeah, gas. They say gas and cars are cheaper in the country. Gas and eggs are cheaper in the country. But you also find, for instance, one of the reasons why we have a bigger shortage of cars in Canada than there is in the U.S. is because even with the exchange, they don't charge enough of a premium for the Canadian car that it brings them in more money than they would if they would sell it in the U.S. Why? Because there's a certain fixed amount that they can charge for a car, and because of that, they lose. That's why there's something called a gray market, right? Because they sell batteries in markets where they can't get as much for them for less because they're making profit there as well. But they don't want you to buy cheap and sell it elsewhere to the gray markets. So Dr. Shmuel, but generally there are certain things that have a standardized type of price that will not deviate for small differences like where you buy it or like if it's in a bar out of it. And the mazik has to get it out.
Even if it's across the street or it's across the country.
Amar Shmuel, Ein Shaman, Loy Leganev, Loy Legazlin, Elo Lenazak. So Rashi says something interesting. Ein Shaman means you don't make an assessment for a Ganav or a Gazlan. In other words, if a Ganav or a Gazlan steals an animal and the animal dies, unlike what we said until now, because we have psukim to say that the Bailim, the nizik is metapel b'nevela, not by a Ganav or a Gazlan. By a Ganav or a Gazlan, you're going to give him back a brand new, perfect animal, and you're going to deal with the nevela. It's only for nizakim. But look what Shmuel says, where this comes from. Amar Shmuel minig dayaninu. It's just a minig dayanim. Shein shamin lo leganav lo legazlan. Shem ganav v'gazal behema a kalim v'nifchasu etzloi. If someone stole something and whatever he stole was damaged by the ganav, ein shamin an avelav ashvarim lebailim sheyach ganav apchas. You don't let the ganav give back the dead animal and then backfill the loss, like the Torah says by mazik you can do. Elishalem behema v'chelim ulam. You're going to have to buy me a brand new animal, and you're going to have to deal with the mess. By Nizokin, Shaman, Rashi says, where the psukim tell you, because in logic you would say, give me a new thing, I'm not to deal with the garbage. But the psukim tell you by Nizokin that we're going to be makel with the mazik and let him give back the nevela. But by Ganav and Gazlan, there we wouldn't allow such a thing. This is how Rashi learns. Tosfos actually learns it's some psukim. And if we look at Rashi, Tosfos, B'shiltas Rabbi Chai, Garis, Amar Shmuel, Amar Li Abba, V'loi Kepir Shakuntris, the Minig Dayanim Kach. It's not a Minig Dayanim. It's the halach. And Tosfos brings a makar. Ein Shaman on the Ganav on the Ganav, Pir Shakuntris, Ein Shaman on the Vela, V'ashvarim L'bailim, Sheyachzer Aganav Apchas, Ella, rather Yishalem Behema Shlema, V'kelim Ulam. The Ganav has to replace what he stole in the same condition, the Shvarim Shaloi, and the Ganav will have to deal with the broken pieces of whatever he stole. V'afagav the Kaimalon Yoshiv L'Rabbi Shavik Kesef Kakesef Vafilu Subin. I by Mazik we know we have the halacha that you can give back anything. Ganav and Gazlan shiny. A Ganav and a Gazlan are different. We should nechsiv Teheshiv Esakzela Asher Gozal Ke'en Shegozal. There the Torah says you have to give it back in the same condition. So it's not just a minik hadayana. It's the Torah says Asher Gozal. That's how Tosfos learns. Or it's full value. Veloy subin, but you can't give garbage. The Yerushalmi says the same thing. Because by Ganav it says Chayim, Shnayim, Yishalim. Veloy Mesim. You got to give back live. Again, it's a drush on the words. You have to give back grade A stuff, not the garbage and some backfilled money. At Kedon Geneva. That tells me Geneva because Chaim Shnayim Yishalim is referring to Geneva. Gezela Minayim. How do we know by Gezela as well? You have to give back good stuff. Amar Bava Bar Amo, the Heshiv Gezela Gozal Kasher Gozal, similar to what we quoted from the Bavli. Rashi Lamaisa, what's the reason behind it? Why is it that by Mazik you only have to backfill and by Geneva you have to pay new? Zok Tosh is a Pashat to Svara. Behind your time up. The Ganav and Gazlan konu miyad kishahitziyah mishas bailam. When was the Ganav and Gazlan konu the object? The moment he took it out of the base bailam, which it was in pristine condition at that time. Avol Mazik, he has no liability until he does the damage. Avol Mazik len yischayiv elakamosh ezik. So therefore, he's only responsible. The Mazik is only responsible for the loss, but the Ganav is responsible for the whole keli. Because he stole the whole keli. Behind the time of the mandamar, after shoyl. That will be the svara of the mandamar that we're going to discuss shortly. What about a shoyl? Does he pay like the way he got it or not? And the Gemara fears that he pays like the way he got it because kivan the chayv ba'intin, since a shoyl is chayv ba'intin, nimta shekanoi misha shahoytzi miyara bailam. He was kind of its full achrayis the moment he received it from the bailam. The adamim who did his chayiv k'maygana v'gazlim. And he's mechuyev to pay damim like a guy up in the Gazlan, and he cannot give back the old broken thing.
And isn't this exact situation? It says how much is
that says in the Zokin, but it doesn't say about Gnev and Gzela. That's the Shiloh.
So that's why only by the Zokin, you.
And how do you know about Gnev Gazlan? No, it doesn't say either way.
Again,
so maybe
what
let's go. Let's discuss it later. I want to go by there. We got to discuss. We have the Shiloh. And now we have to go weiter. Tashma. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped a little bit. So Shmuel said, I say shoyl as well. The Abba Moideli and even Abba Grizin. But it wasn't clear. What about Afshoyl? Yibailu Hachi Kamar. Afla Shoyl Shaman Abba Moideli. Idilma Hachi Kamar. Vani Omer Afla Shoyl ain't Shaman Abba Moideli. So what did Shmuel mean? Tashma. Who governed the Shoyl Naga Mechavre? Someone borrowed an axe from his friend, Tavra, and the axe broke. Also, the Kamei Rav, they went to Rav, Amalezil Shlim Le Nargam Alya. Give him a brand new axe. So Mamina and Shaman. So you have a raya that what Shmuel meant was ain't Shaman, meaning by the shoyl he has to give back a brand new axe. Correct more Adarava. Mida Amr Le Rav Kahana Rav Asi Le Rav. When Rav Kahana and Rav Asi heard Rav Paskin that he has to give him a new axe, they commented on Rav and they asked him, Dina Hachi, is that true? The Shosik, and Rav was quiet. That sounds like he accepted their ha'ara, and in fact, they can give back the broken pieces and just pay the difference. Shemamina, shaman. So Adrab, you have a right from here that a shoyl could give it back. Itmar, Amar Ulla, Amar Belazar, shaman, leganim, legazan. Rav Papi Amar ain't shaman, the Hilchasa ain't shaman, loy leganim, loy legazan, aval shoyl, shaman. That's how we pass on halach lamaisa, kid Rav Kahana, Rav Asi. In fact, a shoyl is like any other nezikin, and he can give back the broken pieces and the money that makes up the difference. So now we're going to go through many different halachas throughout the Torah where Ulla Amar Elazar had his set of halachas. So it's like coming into Ulla Amar Elazar's Amazon store and seeing all of the different things that he has for sale. So before we learn this tomorrow, we have to have a little bit of akdam. The halacha is the beginning of Parshas Tazriah. The Torah tells us that if a woman gives birth, if she gave birth to a male child, she's tameh for 7 days, counting the day that she gave birth. On day 8, up until day 40, so that's another 33 days, she's in a period called Yemei Tahira. That means even if she sees dam in that period, that dam will not make her tameh. Of course, nowadays we don't we don't have that. We're much more machmer, and all the halachas that we learn in the Gemara don't apply nowadays. Nowadays, any tipas dam kachadol that she sees, automatically you have to sit shiva nekiyim like a zavak doim. So this is only before all of the chumras. Before we accepted all of those chumras. So a woman gave birth. If it was a male child, for 7 days she's vadai tameh. She's also to be with her husband. At the end of 7 days, she can go to the mikveh, and now she's tar. And even if she sees dam during the period of the next 33 days, she will be tar. However, karbana she can't eat after the 33rd day, which is a total of 40 days from the time that she gave birth. She goes to the mikveh again, and then she can eat karbanis, and that's when she brings her karbanis of yuledas. If it's a female, all those times double up. So for the first 14 days, she's b'yimei tama, and after from 14 to 80, she is. So it's another 66 days. She is b'yimei tar. So what happened was is a shilya shiyatza mitzasa b'yamishu. Shilya in the Gemara's language, not in modern Hebrew. The shilya in the Gemara's language is the sac around which the fetus is found. So a shilya came out, miktsasa b'yom rishon, part of this sac, I guess some type of membrane, came out b'yom rishon, u'miktasa b'yom shein. Now the question is, what day do we identify as the birth of the child? Now by the second day for sure, we would consider the birth of the child. Now the problem is there's no baby here, because the baby must have dissolved. So if there was an actual baby there, it's very easy to know which day the baby was born. The problem is there's no baby here. Just to show you came out. So we're assuming that there was a child here that was dissolved, and therefore we need to know what day it is. We also need to know if it's a male or a female. We have a lot of sveikas here. So which day do you count as day number one? Zakt Ulla Amar Elazar, Moinin Lamina Rishon. The first day that any part of the shilya comes out, that will be considered the day of birth. And therefore, that's day one. And of course, you have to be machmer. So for the next 14 days, because we assume it's in the keva l'chumra, for the next 14 days, she's considered tummy. Amalei Rava, my diet. What is your thought as to why this is the case? L'chumra, because we want to be machmer, because maybe there's a vlad here on the first day. That's a very dangerous chumra, because chumra the asi l'dei kula. This chumra is going to lead to a kula. You know why? They come at taharis lamarisha. If you start the 14 days a day early, you're going to end the 14 days a day early, and that will cause a problem because maybe the baby was really born the second day, and day 14 is still from the Yemei Tumah, assuming that it's in the cave. The commentaries Ela Amar Rava, let me tell you what it is. Avada, when Ulla Amar Elazar said that you moin lamina rishon, he doesn't really mean that. He just means lochush chosheshes. You're chosheshes that on the Yom Rishon she's also tummy. But mimna, to actually count as day one, loy mimni ela l'shein. Day one is really the second day, because that's when we'll say the baby was born. My kamash malam. What is the chiddush here? What is the chiddush here of Ulla Amar Elazar telling us that you have to be machmer on day one? The chiddush must be is the ein miksa shilya beloy vlad. Really, what we should say is, if a little bit of the shilya came out on day one, and a little bit of the rest of it came out on day two, really we should say that we don't need to worry about day one at all. Why? Because first of all, just because a shilya came out, that's just a membrane around the fetus. Who said any fetus came out at all? And even if there was some fetus in the water that came out with this shilya, how do we know it was right? And if it wasn't right, the birth is not considered being born on that day. So it's a sveka to suggest that there should be a chumrah on day one. Elamai, why is Ulla Amar Elazar being machmer? It must be because they hold ein mixed shilya below vlad. If some of the shilya comes out, there must be some vlad mixed in here. The question only is if it's roiv or not roiv. So therefore, since it's only one suffix, we're going to say that she's tummy. So that is the chiddush. If we could possibly entertain that the shilya can come out with no vlad at all, then there would be a svek. Suffix, if there's any vlad here, or suffix, there might be some blood here. And even if there is some blood here, how do we know that we have roived the blood? So therefore, there would be no reason to be machmer on the first day. The fact that Ulla said you have to be machmer on the first day, what he must be telling you is one of those two svekis is not a suffix. Because if a shilya came out, for sure there's some blood here. The only one single question is how much of the blood came out on the first day. Because of one suffix, we're going to be machmer on it. That's not a chiddush, because Tanina, we already learned that chiddush, the ein mitzvah shilya below blood. Where do we learn this chiddush? By eating an animal. The halacha is if you shecht an animal, it's a female animal, and they open up the animal and they find the fetus inside, it's called a ben pekua. That ben pekua does not require shechita. So what happens if you're shechting an animal, but before you shechted the animal, shilya sheyatu samitzas, some of the shilya came out. And now the question is this child born? When they cut the animal open, there was some shilya left inside. If this animal is considered born, even the shilya that's inside cannot be eaten. It's not hukshar v'shchita simai. But if we consider it not born, then at least what's inside the mother will be mutter with the shchita of the mother. And the Brisa tells us
it only eats meat. So it was broken shilya, half came out and half didn't.
That's correct. That's correct. Shilya shiyatzim esasa asura b'achila. It's asur b'achila. Simin vlad be'isha, simin vlad be'behema. The same way, ein mitzvah shilya b'loy vlad ba'yinisha, so ein mitzvah shilya b'loy vlad ba'behema, and therefore we say the same thing. It's not a sveka. Suffix, if there's anything, any life in this shilya, suffix not, suffix roiv, suffix not, because then it would be mutter b'achila. Since we're saying whatever's inside is also asur b'achila, vice to chayis, we're chayshid, we know for sure there's some vlad there, and there's only one suffix if it's the roiv vlad or not. Zok to Gemara, no, I still need the chiddush of Ulla by Tumah. Why? Because even masnis and havamina, I would have said, really, yesh mikshah shilya b'loy vlad. If that's the case, why are we forbidding the owner of the animal to eat whatever's left inside? Maybe gzeir mikshah satakula. We're afraid that if we allow somebody to eat what's inside the animal, when some of the shilya comes out, we might also allow the person to eat the animal if the whole shilya comes out and then goes back inside. That's how Rashi learns. Tosfos doesn't like that pshat, so Tosfos learns Aliyah Shloimer Da'ati Ruba Karmina the Sharis B'Yitzias Miktsas Masha B'Fnim. If you're going to allow the part that was remaining in the animal during the shechita to be eaten, even though some of the shilya went out, we're afraid that maybe even if roiv came out or if the head came out, maybe will also be matir, and there'll be a problem. So therefore, there's a makom to make an extra chumrah. The even if yesh mitzvah shilya b'levad ugzer mitzvah tekula kamash malon that, and there's no such makom to make a gzeira over here where she's for sure told me. The question really is, it was the first day or the second day. But clear there's a vlad here. We can treat it like there's a vlad here. Kamash malon that you actually hold ein mitzvah shilya b'levad, and there's a real legitimate concern that the late that happened the first day, and therefore we're machmer to be mitamer on the first day. The Amar Ulla Amar Elazar, another halacha that Ulla Amar Elazar taught us. B'chor shenitraf b'yom b'soichlam. Now the halacha is Rachman l'tzlan a b'chor adam, when it's 30 days, you have to be paid a b'chor with 5 shkolim to the kohen. What if Rachman l'tzlan, the baby got eaten up by an animal? That's how Rashi learns. Tosfos learns the child suffered from an ailment that rendered him a trefa. You will not be paid to the child. The child didn't live 30 days, you're not paid to the child. The pasuk says, in reference to being paid a bechor, it is called Peterechem l'chol basar she'ikriv l'Hashem ba'adam uba b'hem loch ach padoi sifta. So you would think that since there's a double lotion of padoi sifta You might think even if the child was killed 30 days, there's still a chiyuv for his father to be paid to him. It says ach chalak to tell you that if the child didn't live 30 days, then you're not paid to the child. Zok Rashi, very, very important. It says, Ein paidin ein tzarich liftais. But what if the child died without a treif? Because Rabbi Elazar is discussing a case where the child was nitraf. What if the child just died from natural cause? There's Zok Rashi, loy istrich la lamemar. There I don't even need a pasuk to teach me. It has to be a year old. The loy amrinon ilo iktil havachai v'loy nefel hava, and therefore for the farka you should be paid. So if the child didn't live on its own 30 days, that for sure we know is not a child that's royu for pigeon because it's a tuv chodesh. But our shaila is this child would have lived. Some external force killed it, but this child would have lived. Maybe such a child is muchayiv a pigeon, and for that we say ach chalak to say that you're not paid. If you want to be kind of behemagasa, ox, you have to actually drag it and pull it and walk it towards you. You don't need such a big kinyan. All that has to happen is the owner merely needs to give the reins of the animal to the buyer, but he doesn't have to actually yank it and make it walk. So to Gemara, who the Omar ki haitana. Ulla holds like this Tana, who argues on your Tana. The Tanya v'chacham ma'imrim zu v'zu b'meshicha, Sheminoimer zu v'zu b'agba. So the Tana that says, I'm sorry, so Ulla who says b'meshicha holds like this Tana. Your Tana holds, Masira argues. We already learned. Reb Shimon says zu v'zu b'agba. We had this, I believe, in Gittin or in Kedushin. He says, how in the world do you make agba on an ox? How can you lift a 600-pound animal? So the Gemara Kedushin tells us, build a ramp for him, pile up some stuff, and let the animal walk on. There's a whole shiloh there in Achronim. Why isn't what you build up bottled to the karka? Brothers are working in the estate. So there's an estate, and everyone's living off the estate. Meaning people are buying food off the estate, people are buying clothing off the estate, and then they decide, we want to split. We're old enough, we're going to split, we're going to go our separate ways. Each one's going to get their own chiluk. So the halach is, what about the clothes? Everything that they bought, even the clothing they bought from the estate. So all that should get thrown into the pool and be assessed and then split. So the halach is ma'ashalei and shaman. Even the clothing off their backs is part of the cheshbon. And that's considered all part of the estate. And that will be split evenly. However, umashal b'neinu v'neisem ein shaman. But we will not assess the clothing that are on their children's back, and the reason for that is Rashi, the keeping the bundle of vanis also levedina. It's normal. It's not normal for children and the wives to come to best. So therefore, we're not mavazin them to come, so that we should have to assess their clothing to evaluate the total value of the estate. But Amar Papa, Pa'amim af ma'shalei mensham. Sometimes even the clothing that they themselves are wearing would not be akishat, because we won't say it's something that they took for their benefit. We'll say it's something that they took for the benefit of the whole estate. Mishkachas labegadolachi, the oldest of the brothers, who is running the business affairs, representing the brothers' business affairs, the nichalahu the l'shtamen mila. If he would come in tattered, not dressed properly, he wouldn't be able to get the proper respect to sit by the table in these big high level financial meetings. So he has to dress like a mensch. So that he's wearing not for his own benefit, he's wearing it for the benefit of the estate. We'll call that an expense account. You know, there's a yid that was nifted not too long ago. He lived as a hobo, a homeless guy. We would see him lying on benches. You probably have seen him. He's no longer alive. When he died, they found out that he was worth several millions of dollars. And I knew this guy because he used to come to Jackson's Point. Why did he come to Jackson's Point? Because he wanted to eat good food, but he didn't want to pay for it. And in Jackson's Point, he wasn't so frum. In Jackson's Point, there's a place called the Briars. It's a fancy hotel. And every Sunday in the summer, they have Goyish weddings there. And they give out food to everybody. So he goes there and sits on the park bench there. He used to go to eat fresh food after he came to Shul to fresh. So this guy died left over $2 million. Someone told me that the Royal Bank or banks, investment companies sometimes make exclusive events for high net people where they show different opportunities to invest. So he was once there, a wealthy guy that I know. He said, and this homeless guy walks in. I wanted to throw him out. So he said, no, I have an account over here. So you see, he came to a big financial meeting and he didn't feel the pressure that he had to wear a nice suit. But in the normal world, when you want to go and represent somebody to a bank, you're going to dress like a man.
He represents himself.
That's right. Ulla, my Elazar. I give you something to watch for me, and you decide that you're going to subcontract that responsibility. Zokt Ulla, my Elazar, Potter. You will be Potter, and you're only Potter for things that you would have been Potter for. For instance, if I'm a Shomer Sacher, I'm Chayiv on Geneva Aveda, I'm Potter and So whichever Shomer I give it to, if a Geneva Aveda happens, I'll be Chayiv. If Einstein happens, I'll be Potter. Zokt the Gemara, well, mi boy Shomer Chinam, Shemasar l'Shomer Sacher, the Luya Alya l'Shmiras. Clearly, when you give something to a Shomer Sacher, he takes his job much more seriously than if you give a thing to a Shomer Chinam, because a Shomer Sacher is getting paid. He'll take it more seriously. So it's Pashut over there. I actually upgraded the Shmir because I was somebody who might not have been so focused on it because I was only a Shomer Chinam. And here I hired somebody to watch it. This fellow is going to maybe watch it even better than I'm going to watch it. There it's Pashut, that it's Potter. If I was a Shomer Sacher and I gave it over to a Shomer Chinam, so there's an argument to say that maybe the Shomer Chinam is not going to watch it as well. If it was an Einis, I'll be Potter. Of course, it was a Geneva Vaveda, even though the Shomer Chinam is Potter, I'm Chayiv. But if it was an Einis, I'm going to be Potter. The hashtag Guruye Gare Lishmurasai. I made a worse shmira because the Shomer Chinam is not going to be as focused as the Shomer Sacher will be. Nevertheless, Potter, Sherei Moshe Levadas. I did give it over to an adult, a responsible person. That's an acceptable form of shmira. Rav Omar, Shomer Shemoshe L'Shomer is Chayiv. Exactly the opposite extreme. V'loimi boy Shomer Sacher. Shemoshe L'Shomer Chinam is Chayiv. The Guruye Gare Lishmurasai. This shmir Shomer that you gave it to will not watch it with the same level of focus as a Shomer Sacher. Even though the Shomer Sacher takes the shmir more serious, why should I be chayiv? What taina can the owner have that I gave it, that I upgraded the shmir? Who's profiting? Right? Right? Why am I profiting?
Because he's not paying them, he's getting paid.
I had to arrange to have that happen. I had to get that happen. Let me ask you a question. There's no such thing as a free lunch. He obviously owes him a favor. But I thought you were asking a different question.
No, his lending obviously does. He wants to give it to
He's not lending it. He's
sorry, who's giving it to
right.
Obviously has the das that he wants to give it to the Shomer Sacher because he feels more.
I hear your kasha. Okay, but Lamash, that's halach. That's halach according to Ulla. But I thought you were asking another question. I thought you were asking that question. What if I'm a Shomer Chinam and I give it to a Shomer Sacher? Okay, and what happens is it's Geneva Vaveda happens. So I don't have to pay the owner, but he's got to pay me. Now I'm mamish making money on the guy. I thought that's what you're asking. So that's actually a machlokes in Bava and there are those who Rabbi Yosy holds, you can't go make money off me. If he's paying you, that goes to the original Bible. So your argument is a very valid argument. So Zok to Gemara, I feel I don't want to give it to the second guy. Because at the end of the day, I have a right to demand a shvu of the shomer that he has to promise that he wasn't Pasheya. I don't trust him. I trust you. Hi, loy mehemen li b'shavua. There's another svara that's offered in Bava Mitzia, and that's Ein Ritzoni, Shehei Pegdani B'Yaracher. I trust you, I don't trust him. I don't want you to give it to somebody else. V'yamar Ulla Mar Elazar.
Isn't it the same thing?
Hilchazah, no, one's shvul, one's smear. V'yamar Ulla Mar Elazar. Hilchazah goyvin min ha'avad. The halacha is that if the loiva doesn't have money or property, but he has avodim, he could take from the avodim. He could seize avodim because avodim are like karka. What if the loiva died and the Yosoimim yarshin avodim? Are you going to tell me that he can collect avodim from the Yosoimim? Zok Gemara loy minei. Frankly, my minei from the loiva himself. What do you mean you can take avodim? Afilu maglimid al kaspei. You can take anything. A malva can seize anything that belongs to a loiva to get his payment. So we're talking about a case where it was made, the Eved was designated as that was going to be collected from. And Rashi explains, Koloimar, Mizay Yelach Piroin, Vashmini Rabbalazar, the Imachroi, Goiva, Balchoiv Mimenu. An Eved that was that designated, this is what you're going to get paid from, that lien remains even if the Eved is sold. Also, Abda Apoitiki, Umachroi, Balchoiv Goiva Himenu. Shari Apoitiki, what if you made your shar into an Apoitiki and you sold it to Umachroi, Ein Balchoiv Goiva Himenu? My time, what's the difference? When a animal is sold, no one's talking about it. There's no coil, and nobody knows about it that it was for a loan. It wasn't for a loan. I'm sorry. Ha is lekala. Evan has a coil. The ha less lekala, and the shard there is no coil, and therefore no one will know about it. And therefore, if he sells it, the malva cannot come and collect. Levasser denafik. After he left, so who was over here? The discussion was Reb Nachman and Ulla was talking to each other, right? So after Ulla left, after Reb Nachman left, Amar lahu Ulla said, I don't really agree with Reb Nachman. Haki Amar Reb Elazar, this is what Reb Elazar said. Before Reb Nachman said that you cannot be goyve avodim from Yosoimim, here Ulla saying no. In fact, Reb Elazar said that if Yosoimim have an Eved, you'd be able to collect even from Yosoimim. So Amar Ulla Haki Amar Reb Elazar Afilu Miyasme Amar Reb Nachman. Reb Nachman said even Miyasme. The Avda Kimakarka because Eved is mamish like Karka and you could collect from Yosoimim. Ishtamtin Ulla, meaning Nishmat Mimenu, Ulla forgot V'yare Mishum Desavrle Avda Kimataltal Dami Umisyorehu Shema Akapchenu Balachas of Akushas. The reason why Ulla didn't say it before is because I had a whole bunch of rayas that Avda is Kimataltal Dami, and therefore he didn't say it in front of me. So again, Ulla said over here, Afilu Miyasme is that Avda is Kimataltal Dami. He only said it now because otherwise he would have been beaten up because it would have been proven to him that Avda is Kimakarka. Okay, we better stop here and we'll be Mamshach Bez Hashem tomorrow.
Nishmat is not Vagat, it's Varoskita.
He didn't want to say it in front of me. And Nishmat many, he didn't want to say it in front of me. Yeah.
Okay, I have a few not understanding.
Okay, sure.
The Yoled story. Yeah. So Zavada gives that from when the afterbirth or whatever you want to call it is coming out.
This is not afterbirth.
Whatever. When the Shali is coming out, sure, then she's still. So what's the
well, I didn't hear the first statement that you said. It's obvious that what?
From when this is for what meant for huh? Yes. The halucha is if again let's see the halucha. First came out one chaylik, then came out another chaylik. It's not that it happened by Nashmusha there that it started coming out and it finished coming out.
Well, it could be cool. I mean, why would it make a difference?
Because the shal is here for when you start counting what? This is the shal.
When was the later?
There wasn't a lie.
No. Ein shilya below vlad. There was a vlad there. Just because you don't see the vlad, we're choshed that there was a vlad there. It dissolved, and now it's like water.
Yes.
We're choshed with it.
What's the shah if we say that the first day? Because the shash is that.
When was the later? Maybe the later happened the first day, and she's telling me right the first day.
No, maybe the later was the second day. If you're going to say that's the first, that you start from day one. And really it was day two, so the tahara is starting.
So you're gonna be Mekel b'sayf.
So So what's the problem from counting from day 2?
Is that maybe that means you're going to be mata tires in Chuck today? When today
What-
she
what's
touched
that?
tires. That's the whole shaila, right? The shaila
So,
was
so if let's say if it started, let's say the shkia was 6 o'clock. If it started 5:30, from 5:30, it's anyway because it comes out down. It comes out.
no. Rashi says it's speaking where there was no dam. There was no dam. It was a yeleda yevishta. So there's no dam here. So the only way
So
that
she
you would
touched
determine
the
is
top
because of the
shaf,
later.
shaf that's coming out.
Yeah.
And you say that even if it started the psich, the rechem and everything, and it's coming out, it's still not.
Only if there was a later.
Okay, that's number one. Number two, and the story from the Bahamish literature, nicht the Bahamish literature.
And the Bechor should interpret.
No, the Chvuse gab
By a behemoth is shili shows him himself.
Yeah, the look from a band here is that
Kol asher b'behemoth
the shal you can't eat shal.
We're talking about eating.
So
We're talking about eating that. Yeah.
The shalia line is mit the Kamma.
Sure. Kol asher b'behemoth tachelu. Everything except for the chelu and the dam.
The dam, so that's dam.
No, it's not dam.
It's not a sack full of dam.
It's obviously something that's not dam, because if it was dam, there wouldn't be a shayla over here. There's obviously some meat over here. Not that it would be very appetizing, but there's obviously something there that would be able to be eaten.
One thing that is there that they say now that in the Shalia they have companies that
That's the placenta.
placenta.
We're not. This is not the placenta. The shuli is not the placenta. The placenta is the thing that nourishes the baby. That the food that comes to the baby through the mother comes to the placenta. That's the placenta. The placenta. As a matter of fact, I actually made it a point of saying that in the Gemara's term, shilya means the sac, but in current Hebrew, shilya means the placenta. So would you hear that they freeze the shilya? That's not referring to the same shilya. Shilya in the Gemara is not what modern day Hebrew calls shilya.
I don't know.
It's the placenta that you're talking about. Right, the umbilical cord and the placenta. That's not what the shilya is over here. Shilya here is a sacral or that's around the whole baby. So some type of membrane. It's specifically not that. That's actually discussed in the Achronim, and they say first that the shilya that our Gemara is talking about is not the placenta.
So the umbilical cord is not attached to the placenta.
The umbilical cord is right, but that's not the shilya of the Gemara. The shilya of the Gemara is a membrane that goes around everything. So that you say ein mixture shilya below vlad is not referring to the placenta. Could be the whole placenta will come out, and there is no vlad there. But if the shilya comes out, which is the sac, the membrane around, there had to have been some blood.
I saw once a person
Right.
I saw mamish. I was in the farm. I was
The May kicking.
The farm kicked and slept in
Okay.
the
Because somebody wants to ask for Moshe Abba Kavian. If the May kicking, it gives birth. If Moshe Abba says, "Besides, shtet azecho, come on, I know I think it's a shot for that. Anyway. And so go on.
It comes out from the back.
I don't
And the double duck was placed on the behind and those komt er als de afterbirth moest komen luisteren, maar de schale is van dat is kicking dat is een moeilijke methode.
I don't know. I don't know.
I didn't see any sign. Gewoon I learned the behind that after that.
It probably breaks up inside of it.
Okay. And
there's some sort of a sac in there because the water breaks, right? The water breaks. There's something there. So there's something there. We might not see it.
Okay, Sean, looked in the laatste dag, Meretu, as the Goy, minutes the Eved Allah in Al-Prum, right? That's
Correct.
okay.
Shkoich.
And looking at the cash was not big,